Yeah, it did say. Maybe I didn't put that there.
Yeah.
And then.
Of the community.
She does.
Or, you know, really start something.
Yeah, yeah. No, she just. Yeah. Yeah. So.
You don't really take shot.
Sure, how do you do that?
So, you know.
I'm sure you keep it busy, huh?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit.
Do you want me to open it for you? I got it. You got it?
I'm leaving mine after this. The bags are packed. I'm going. Good morning.
I know some years, like 10 special.
Yeah, Jay.
Yes, fine. That's. Exhausted.
Yes, yeah, it's been a busy week.
It's been a time.
Sure, right. So for those who don't know me, I'm Scott Pitta. I'm Chair of the Charter Review Committee.
Sorry to hear that.
I'm a glutton for punishment, you know, that's just what it is. We are recording this meeting. It is a published meeting of the Charter Review Committee. We have a quorum of members here. We have Lindsay Marshall, Eric Diaz, and Jean D. Batista. So we have a couple other members, Ed Ivaldi, James Walsh, and Brad, yes, Brad McKinnon, thank you. I'm trying to go around and think in my head, I'm like, who am I missing? And Brad was attending virtually, so he was on the screen, that's why I couldn't think of him. I don't think I need this, I'm loud enough. So we'll leave this off. I did say we're recording, right? Yes, okay, want to make sure we're not making any secret recording. Good Lord, we'll end up on Bridgewater residence page.
There are the unicorns and rainbows. So we're
Yes.
going on one or the other.
Yeah. Unfiltered. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Make sure we get the public records request. So it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Kelly, I'm kidding if you're listening.
One thing is we are recording on the laptop, so as we start to do open discussion, I will kind of just bring it closer so that we make sure we get the audio.
So start off with the purpose of this meeting, the reason why we're here. Big picture, we're here to listen to you, not for me to talk to you. So I'm going to be talking for a very short period. And then the vast majority of this is going to be you talking to us because I really don't. The Charter Review Committee is something that exists within the town charter. It is a requirement. Every 6 years, we have to look at the charter and figure out what's working, what's not working. It's a really cool mechanism that I think is a brilliant addition to the charter because it recognizes the fact that the charter is not perfect and that we were going to screw some things up or some problems were going to arise that nobody predicted. So this gives us the opportunity. The Charter Review Committee is appointed by the council president, ratified by the council. So it keeps the administrative side out of it. It is the elected representatives only who appoint us. And then we go through the charter line by line, and it has happened twice before, once in 2014 and then again in 2020. I know I said it had to happen every 6 years and the charter didn't take effect till 2011. So why'd you do it in 2014? Because there were a lot of problems that we noticed and we said, we really need to write this ship. So yes, it says every 6 years, but it says at a minimum every 6 years. So I was still on the council at the time and we went, we need to do something now. So we did. Couple of the ways that you all can participate in this process, whether you're here today or at home, provide the CRC, the Charter Review Committee, with your input. Emails, phone calls. We're accessible. If you can't reach us, you can email Deb Ward. She can get us those emails. I don't think we have any published emails on the town website. Jean might. Jean has bridgewaterma.org. You don't? Oh, I thought you did. My bad. You can also contact your town council members and give them your thoughts, because any recommendations that we come up with ultimately get forwarded to the town council. The town council then goes through their process and they decide which amendments to the charter are going to go forward. If there are amendments that you propose that don't go forward through the town council, is there something else you can do? Yes, the charter, in the charter, there are citizen initiative petitions. Citizens can come together, go out, get petitions, get signatures, get items onto a ballot. Because after the council reviews the amendments, then it goes on the ballot. Or it goes to the state, has to get approved by the state. And then it comes back to the voters have to approve it. So always the voters at the end of the day have the final say. Come on. I need my eyes. A little bit of history of the charter. 2008, the old Board of Selectmen formed the Town Government Study Committee. Short version is from 2008 to roughly 2010. That's how long it took to study the different forms of government that could possibly be adopted by the town, whether it's an elected mayor, stay with open town meeting, representative town meeting, the council manager form of government that we have. There's a lot of different options. So they studied all of those options. They made recommendations. They decided to move forward in May of 2009 with the council manager form of government and started drafting the charter. And then it went before the citizens for a vote in April of 2010. It was adopted by the citizens of Bridgewater, and then the first council took over in 2011. So what is the town charter? I like to say it is the constitution of the town of Bridgewater. It is created by a special law. So it's passed at Beacon Hill as a special law. What is a special law? It's exactly that. It's not a Massachusetts general law that applies across the board. It is a special law for this purpose to give the town of Bridgewater, and I do say the town of Bridgewater, not the city of the town of Bridgewater. This is my soapbox moment, because it's a special law. Okay, anytime there's a special law that conflicts with a general law, the special law wins. And our charter is a special law, and our charter says we are the town of Bridgewater. So we are the town of Bridgewater. That's me. So it's created by a special law, has to get ratified by the voters. It defines the government structure. Okay, it says what Bridgewater can and can't do, who the elected bodies are, what the committees need to be. All of that is in the charter. And that's not to be confused with the municipal code. The municipal code are the ordinances and bylaws and things like that that are passed by the town council. Okay. When you go to the town website and you go to pull up the charter, it's all in one big document, the admin code. The first section is the charter, that's the Constitution. Then after that are all the bylaws and ordinances. So that is not part of what we are looking at. And that is for the town council to look at. If you have issues with the bylaws and ordinances, I get a lot of comments about wanting more time to speak at the council meetings, more than the 3 minutes. That's not in the charter. So that's a good example of, okay, that's, you know, my second Dirty Dancing reference of the day, you know, my space and your space. I didn't think I'd reference Dirty Dancing twice in 10 minutes here. But the breakdown of the authority is all of the authority comes from the residents. Okay. Every government entity out there gets its power from the consent of the governor. So that's why I have the residents at the top of this. Okay, from there, through the charter, we give authority to the town council and town clerk, other independent elected officials. So the town clerk doesn't report to the town council, but the town council does control the budget. So there is some influence there. The town council hires the town manager. Town manager is the head of the executive side of the town. Charter actually says is the chief executive office. Okay, so they are in charge of all of the municipal employees that don't fall under these folks over here. So the town clerk hires their staff. Some of those other committees, they have their own staff. The town council has their own staff. They have like council clerk who doesn't report to the town manager. So that's sort of the breakup of how it works. I covered this a little bit earlier, the charter review committee, the charter review process. Okay, like I said, we're limited to the four corners of the charter, just what's within the charter. Not all that extra stuff. After we make our recommendations, goes to the town council, they do their stuff. We talked about this. I'm kind of jumping around. This is my first time actually presenting this. Big thing, citizens can initiate your own amendments. So if you don't like what the town council is doing, you can get together with all your neighbors and push stuff through, right? It is a long process. Okay, and at the end of the day, all of the amendments require, again, the consent of the governed. Doesn't matter what the town council does, doesn't matter what Scott Pettit does or the charter review committee. None of that matters until you get to the ballot. And that's what I really like about the process. So, but it's a double-edged sword. We all have to pay attention. And in a town of nearly 30,000 people, and we get very few people that actually show up to vote, it kind of gets frustrating. So I'm very grateful for all of you here and anybody listening at home. Thank you for being part of this process, because I know I don't know everything. So, I don't know what the problems are you're seeing. And that's it. That's my spiel. So I'm done talking. I want to hear from all of you. What are the concerns you have? Am I missing anything from my committee members? I don't think so. No. So please fire away. All right, we'll start. Ladies first.
How long of a time frame do you have to do this whole process?
We have 1 year from the date of appointment. Now,
Oh,
the council can choose to extend that time frame,
yeah.
but the charter says you have 1 year to report back to the town council.
Yeah.
And it's pretty quick
Mhm.
when to go through that entire charter. And for that reason,
Yeah.
we looked at everything early on and we said, we don't have the time or the capacity or the funding to study all of these different forms of government. We do understand there are folks out there that want to return to open town meeting, and that's fine. We can have that discussion. But we as a committee, to be able to do our job, have said, we can't do that here. If the council wants that done, they should go and form a town government study committee to do what they did back in 2008
Mhm.
and to do that again. So that is our response to those actions. We hear you, we understand. Whether we agree, disagree is irrelevant. We have a job to do with the existing charter.
And I think there's a big lack of understanding too, as far as you did clarify how there's the admin code and ordinances and all of that. And when people think of charter, they think it's all bundled into one package, I believe, you
Yeah, and
know.
I think that's
So-
because it's how it's packaged on
Yes.
the website. It
Yeah.
didn't used to be that way.
Yeah,
When we first formed the town
Yes.
council,
yeah.
one of the very first things we told Troy Clarkson at the
Mhm.
time was put the charter, just the charter, on the town's homepage
Yes.
so that every resident can go there and find it. It's not there anymore.
No.
And now it's all combined into one document and,
Yep, I lived through that time frame, as you know, I
oh yeah.
worked in the municipality for almost 25 years, so I lived through all of that, and it was a lengthy, public meetings and this and that, and I think we found people on one side of the fence and the other side, an open town meeting and this and that. It was kind of tore the town apart a little bit when we were going through that, so
It
it
was,
was a tough,
it was ugly,
process.
but we had a lot of really good exchanges of
Yes.
different points of view.
Do we need to have people state their name or no?
You can state your name. I would like it if you stated your name.
okay,
However, this is a public meeting. We cannot obligate you to do that as a government entity.
okay.
You have a
Lorraine,
First Amendment right and a Fourth Amendment right to not identify yourself.
What about if you're, to clarify that you are actually a resident? Because I feel
Doesn't
like a
matter.
resident should be already
It-
in our
it-
charter.
It would be nice, but again, I go back to that hierarchy. Fourth Amendment. I can't compel you to identify yourself.
I will though, I'm a Bridgewater resident.
Thank
Since 1983.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand your point, and, for years at town meeting, everybody does that, and now we do it at town council meetings, and it's habit. But there's actual case law out there that says you cannot compel citizens to identify themselves.
Really?
Yes,
So what's that?
it falls under the Fourth Amendment. I'm a big constitutional civil rights person, if you haven't figured that out yet. Okay, I enjoy doing things in government because I don't like government, so. Yes,
Anything more you need on me or?
a DNA sample.
That you won't get.
Yes,
I just
Jean.
want to clarify one point, which is if there is concern about the form of government, our committee doesn't have the time in order to put together a study committee, but we can make the recommendation if that is the desire of the residents of Bridgewater to the town council that a study committee be formed. That's, I just wanted to clarify that.
Joe, sit there.
Joe Gillis, you sort of touched on part of my question that this committee, the Charter Review, does not wish to endeavor to review the form of government. But my question then is it within the charter that controls our form of government? And that means, it's a matter of semantics, but like, if we want to go to a mayor or we want to go back to a board of selectmen, is that a modification to the charter or is it something entirely different? The
It-
charter being like the Constitution, it would seem
Yes.
that's the document that needs to
Yes.
adjust.
It is within the four corners of the charter.
Okay.
And that was a discussion that I had with one of the council members in a personal conversation there was a discussion over whether we had the authority to look at the form of government. My argument is yes. And that the town council does not have the authority to direct us as to what we can look at and what we can't, because we are not a subcommittee of the town council. We are, let me back this up. We're one of these other independent committees because we are listed in the charter as we must exist. The council must form us, but that's it.
So the charter committee is not endeavoring to say, again, I'll use the example, going to BOS or going to mayor or going to some other form, but you may make the recommendation that upon review and discussion with citizens, it appears that
Yes.
another government review committee, as in what was done 16, 17 years ago, needs to be reformed. But
Yes.
that you will not take that as your charge. You may take it as your charge to make that recommendation that a study is warranted because you're hearing enough about that. But you're not going to go any further beyond saying a study is recommended. You don't want to entertain a discussion of open town meeting versus representative versus BOS versus mayor versus I don't know if I'm missing anything.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I just want to understand that. So,
And
okay.
that's largely driven by the temporal component.
Okay.
We have a time limit to get through this charter and make recommendations of what needs to change within the existing charter. We recognize that there are opportunities to make changes, but we just don't have the time or the resources to do so.
Scott, can I piggyback on that just a second? Just to your point, it's not, again, not that we don't want to take that on, but to Scott's point, we just don't have the time.
Yep.
An amendment to the charter that changes our form of government it's an amendment, yes, but it's almost scrapping the charter and starting a new one. And in the time frame that we have, we just don't have that. But we did, in our meetings to date, we have discussed this ability quite a bit, and I think we actually voted to ensure that we maintain the right to make that recommendation should we overwhelmingly hear from citizens that that's where they want to go.
Yes.
Scott, what is the ending date? When do you need to have this wrapped up by?
May of 2009?
Sounds right.
Yeah, I think we were appointed officially. No, sorry.
27.
Twenty-seven, 2027, May of 2027, yeah.
And we do, I believe, have the ability to request a reasonable extension of
Yes.
time should we need it.
Yeah.
But, it can't be open.
Yeah, the last charter review committee got an extension of, I think, a month and a half. We just needed to tweak up some of the little,
As a follow-up, can you make an interim recommendation or do you have to wait until you're done? In other words, the form of government is a hot button issue. I mean,
Yeah.
over the past weekend or whatever, it's probably got more of a hot button. So I mean, you could go back to town council in November and make a recommendation that the council look into a town government study committee while you're still conducting your other work, but saying, we're not going to take this task on, but we're recommending the council form the government study.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait until your final report to make recommendations.
no.
Okay.
We could do that.
Okay.
The town council could do it at their next meeting. They could vote to form a town government study committee. They don't have to wait for us.
And we have the ability as well, just like any other committee in town, to go, send representatives to a council meeting to give them updates and, like you said, interim recommendations, things like that. But that is something that, as a committee, one member wouldn't go rogue and do that on behalf of the whole committee. That's something the committee would vote on.
And another point on that, we are planning a survey. And one of the questions on the survey is going to be related to that, maybe a couple, at least we believe so. And so that will help us to know how, what the feeling is for the residents of Bridgewater in terms of that issue. And that will help us to understand whether that study committee should be recommended. So.
Janet, I am a Bridgewater resident. I was on the former, along with Scott, I was on the former Charter Review Committee 6 years ago. And I just want to remind people, everything's recommendations. They're not telling that this needs to change. It's recommendations. And you don't want to present your recommendations too soon, because as you go through that charter, line by line by line, we did from table of contents to spelling errors, gender, there's a lot of changes, but you don't want to do it too soon, because as you go, you end up seeing, all right, we made these recommendations here, I think these are changes, but then you go further on and like, well, wait a minute, we need to tweak this because we see now this. So you have to really wait till the end to make your final recommendations, and everything is voted on. And then there's a final vote at the end where everybody, is in agreement, and, the majority is in agreement. And then it's presented to the town council. And I know that, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of recommendations that we had, and I'm still wondering where some of them are. And I know some of them have been stuck in the legislature. And I would like to see the town council do more as far as doing all of the recommendations. I mean, the spelling and everything, that should be just a no-brainer, pass it through. But there is a resolution to make sure that this doesn't take 6 years anymore, and that it's acted on by the town council within a certain amount of time. I think that should still be part of the Charter Review Committee's tasks. The makeup, the rules of it, so that people, town council, not just a resolution, have it part of the Charter Review Committee, that the town council will act upon those recommendations within a reasonable amount of time. So we don't have to wait 6 years to be voting on for something that was not really relevant anymore. But I just want people to know you can't really be making recommendations ahead of time because it can change. It is a long process to go line by line by line by line
And you
and
do.
section and section and section. And I am one that wants to keep the name town. I was one of the holdouts on that one.
And that's a
Um,
good point, because you do have to make sure, and we spent a lot of time on this 6 years ago, especially with a lot of the budget and the timing requirements, you have to make sure that it's all consistent, so no sections conflict with each other. Yeah.
Some that we had to go back and tweak and, so there's a lot to it.
I think another thing really quick, sorry, is just to kind of like our timeline. I don't think we went over kind of our timeline of the year with kind of between now and somewhere in the fall, probably October timeframe, is we're doing a lot of intake, right? We have 2 more of these forums, one on August 24th and one on September 12th. Jean and some of the team members are also putting together the CRC survey. So, you know, the next couple months and weeks are going to be really about the intake from you guys to kind of learn what you guys are interested in, you know, recommending and in wanting change. And then from there, you know, we'll be going through the charter, you know, article by article and working through that. But just so you guys are aware of the timeline of and where kind of our scope is throughout the rest of the year.
And we've set these up deliberately to capture as broad of a demographic across Bridgewater as possible. We have one midweek, midday here. We have another one in an evening at the library. We have another one on a weekend, so that we can capture as many. We know there's certain residents that are just never going to be able to come. Just the reality of economics in the world today with 2-income families, 3-income families. Just don't have, if you have kids, you don't have time for this. Maybe if you remember, you'll send an email. But we wanted to make sure we gave as much opportunity as possible. So I know we had a question in the back.
Hi, Grace Lawson. I'm 3.5 decades here, and I'm ashamed to say I never got involved in government until recently. And I do want to say that I respect and I'm grateful for people who stand up to want to be part of the town council. But on the alternate side, most of these people don't have a background in managing government. So that's my critical point of view with the current charter, is that I feel like I'm in the land of Oz. The council never has to respond to you, or they say, oh, we'll give you the answer next time we have a town council meeting. That's totally inappropriate. Somebody behind a curtain pulling the shots and you never know. So we don't get effective input from what we have spoken about. And it's like throwing things up in the air and never knowing where it's landing. That's the one everything else stems from that ability, from at least the town residents' point of view. My point of view is that you need to have a 2-way street. We can't stand up and we can tell you things. And like last night, I was amazed at how many people actually sat down and read through the upcoming bills and things. And you think 28,000 people are going to do that? No. But there were a handful of people who do it, the same handful of people who come every time. So literally what that says is we're governing ourselves. And then we stand up and we tell you what we think about this bill. And it's like silence, crickets. We never get a rebound. And that gives too much power to the town council. And that is the one sticking point. There needs to be feedback from what people are saying. We can stand there and talk all day long, but if you don't know where we're going with it, and I think it's problematic all around. And you're going to take 2 years to do this. I could be dead in 2 years. I mean, everything is relative. We don't have time to sit around and decide the future when there should be some way in the immediate present to have imminent danger issues reacted and responded to. I'm very disappointed that the town council decided this whole thing about the manager. Oh, we're gonna take it under review and we're gonna have to hire outside counsel. That brings up another question. So we have one lawyer and he's working for both sides. He's working for the town manager and the council. Obvious conflict of interest. That means more money out of the town people's pockets. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that something should be happening immediately. We can't wait 6, 8 months. And that's the failure. Everything is on a slow roll. And in this day and age, when we can do this and we can learn everything, we need to come into the future. So my big point to you is we can't have a silence. We just can't. And the other side is for my view of the townspeople. I don't think they don't care. I think there's not enough communication. We don't have a town paper. I'm still appalled that a year ago, my hairdresser didn't know there was a water problem in town. Are you kidding me? We need a newspaper. A lot of people aren't on Facebook and they're not on the right Facebook pages. So there needs to be a level of, again, going back to a level of communication, be it town council or the town itself, to get out information so that people will become involved. So that's my
Hearing two general themes there. One is communication
big,
and the other, the town attorney issue.
yes.
You know, as an attorney myself, I understand the conflict of interest.
Mhm.
And he was absolutely right to recuse himself because he does have both the town council and the town manager as a client. And, you know, just like if you do an estate plan for a couple, you can't then go and represent, you know, one of them in a divorce.
No, I agree, but the effective is that having appointed him to do both was the conflict.
Yeah, I can tell you a lot of forms of government will have, you know, take the state, for example. We have the attorney general.
Mhm.
But then the governor has her own legal counsel. The legislature has their legal counsel because they have to be able to get those independent legal opinions. And, you know, maybe that's something for the charter because the town attorney does exist under the charter as one of, you know, these sort of independent entities.
We just
Maybe
need
there's-
to avoid,
Maybe there's something
clock.
there for us to discuss. So thank you for that. Counselor Lindy.
Thank you. So it was a good thing that our town attorney recused himself because where I used to be from, the city had a city solicitor and there was a town council attorney. It happened to be Mr. Gilday, who was the predecessor, who was in town, who's now a judge in Bridgewater. So that was a good thing, okay? I think before people talk about our experience in government, they should do their homework. I have about 40 years of experience in different governments, and I served on a school committee. I served on the library board of trustees. I served on a cable advisory board, a community school advisory board. And we get training. If people do what I've done, Mary's done, go to the Mass Municipal Association, get training, do your job. I was on the Housing Authority here. I was on the Mitchell School Building Committee here. I'm not going to get into a debate about that because I think we're all volunteers. We get no pay. It was voted down. It was in one of the charter recommendations. There are some of us here in the council that have pushed really hard to make sure that charter review committee stuff gets out. It was kept by a previous counselor in committee, like in the state legislature, they have a committee of bills in the third reading where legislation goes to die. That's what happened prior to the Rules and Procedures Committee, which my fellow counselor served on, I served on. Sean Kennedy is now the chair, and he is working really hard to clear those out. So when you guys give the report back, we can deal with what you guys have done. And it's good that there's experience. You're all volunteers. It's good that there's experience. Scott, you were a counselor. You were on the Charter Review Committee. We have good people in this town that really work hard. In Brockton, there's no comment at the city council. There is no public comment, nothing. In Middlebury, you go over there and anybody can get up and talk at any time. I don't think that's effective. Okay, so the other thing is, there are 90% of the people in this town that do not get out and vote. I've never missed a vote in my life. I voted absentee in a 1-vote election in Brockton. We had a 10-vote town clerk election 2.5 years ago. 10 votes. Every vote counts. So people should get involved, and we're lucky to have citizens come to our town council meeting and talk to us and speak up. So I just want to clarify that for the record. I wish you good luck with your work. I followed the last town charter review committee recommendation very carefully. I think they did a very good job, and hopefully we'll get those out of committee, through our new rules and procedures committee that's in place.
And to your point, the town council did pass a resolution that they would move forward on all of the charter review committee recommendations, whether, an up or down vote will occur.
Is that from 2020 though?
That was from this past April,
Yes. Oh, okay.
that as we go
That'll
forward.
be quick.
I do want to take a moment, recognize Mr. Ed Evaldi. He snuck in one of our committee members, snuck in the back there. He's the former chair of the committee from the 2020 committee. So I'm just gonna go in the back corner here.
Yeah.
Hi, Gina Casconi, Bridgewater resident all my life. I don't have a pen and paper, I'm not writing down notes, but so I'll address what hits me right now that people have said. One, I like Councilor Lindy's comments. I'd just like to correct one thing. He said it was a previous councilor that held up the changes, modifications, the recommendations. It wasn't a former councilor, it was a former state representative that held it up. I don't believe it was a councilor. It was councilor? Oh, okay, I apologize for that. I know that was held up at the state too. I'd like to add to Janet's comment to put a deadline time schedule for the council to act on the recommendations. I would also like to put something in there or see something put in that a schedule set out for the state. And I know whatever committee I just said that I still can't remember it, that deals with it at the state level. I don't know their time schedule, but waiting 6 years for something was ridiculous. Maybe something, if the state doesn't respond in so long, the state rep is asked again, something like that, because 6 years to wait is.
That is interesting, because I'm sitting here as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, we can absolutely put something in the charter that would obligate the town council to vote on the recommendations of the charter review committee. That is something that can go in the charter because it affects the town. But then I was thinking, well, we can't direct the state to do anything.
Right.
However,
You can direct
well,
the town
What is
to
the charter?
follow up.
what is the charter? It's a special law.
Right.
So, yes. If the legislature at Beacon Hill and the governor pass it and sign it into law that says we have to take action on this within a certain period of time, they have to. Then we can take them to court. We can do like a state auditor thing and take them to court. We're probably not gonna win, but
Yeah.
that's a great idea. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have just two other quick things.
Sure, keep
Um,
coming.
I've heard constantly, and friends will say I don't say anything quick, but I will make it quick. I've heard constantly, and I heard it tonight from this woman, that elected councilors don't have experience. They don't this. I've lived through, I'd hate to say how many elections with select people, select persons, whatever the term is. That was
as it is now. It could be, especially back then. To me, it was a popularity contest. Your friends all went to vote for you. Open town meeting versus what we have now. I saw, and many of you in this room who are, I hate to say an old-time citizen like me, but a long-time citizen that has lived through both forms. I saw many open town meetings. It would be one in particular, and a lot of you might remember, it's a building moratorium meeting that I credit, I think it was David Gasson, that worked to get this a building moratorium. I have never, ever seen so many construction people, so many of their families. They stacked the meeting to get it to vote how they want. I think that's a detriment to the open town meeting. You can't stop it. I mean, people go in, they have the right to be in there, but they go in, they vote for what they want, they leave. Many times they ask for it to be moved up earlier in the agenda so they can leave earlier. So I think that's a fault of the open town meeting. And both versions have pluses and minuses. There's one other thing that I can't remember right now.
I think you raise a good point. I mean, no matter which form of government you have, there's going to be positives and negatives. With open town meeting, it's more of a pure democracy. So yes, you're subject to the tyranny of the democracy, the two wolves and a sheep voting over what to have for lunch kind of concept. But the other side is you do get that direct input if you want it. So that there are problems there. There are problems within the town council. There's with the council manager form of government. There are problems with a mayor council form of government. It's personally, I think before we run the charter through the shredder, maybe try to fix what's not working. A lot of people aren't happy with our current people in DC right now. We're not talking about shredding the Constitution and starting over. Well, some people are, but the reasonable people, I don't think are talking about shredding the Constitution and starting over. It's to your point of some of the council members, if you're not happy with them or their experience or what they're doing, the solution to that is at the ballot box, not in the charter. If you don't like the council members you're seeing, find someone to run or run yourself and get up there and do it. That's what I tell everybody. If they come and complain to me about a council member, I say, thank you for volunteering for the next election. And then the complaints stop. Because it's a tremendous amount of work. I've been there, I know it. I know the amount of work our council members put in. It's stressful.
Okay, so I've ruffled a lot of feathers here, and I think I was taken in the wrong direction.
So yeah, it's a safe space.
Well, and that's why it felt like.
Yes.
I commend counselors on the committee. I did not mean that they were not intelligent and honest people. What I'm saying is that when they become counselors, they have to jump into this deep well and learn a lot of stuff really quick. So that was not a negative comment. I actually appreciate people who want to stand up and take it. The next comment, what did you say? Okay.
I think about the councilors not having training, which you kind of.
No, I didn't say training. I said that, they're coming out of everyday life and they're jumping into this gigantic ocean of government. And I commend them for that. But what I'm saying is, they're doing this work quietly. We don't know what to do. I wouldn't know who to complain about. That's not my job. I'm putting my faith in the people that I vote for, mostly according to what I can find out about them and what their previous experience was for. I'm not against the council, but what I'm trying to say is that the one problem with the council is that we don't get feedback. That's the bottom line.
Wait,
We touched on this a little bit, Joe Gillis again. We've touched on this a little bit about communication. And we've touched on it in a few different areas that you said, like the town charter is now buried somewhere because somebody in that chart decided they didn't like where it was and they wanted it buried. I think communication is a big part of the problem. 18 years ago, when we were in our last form of government, we had the enterprise. Speak what you will of it. There was the enterprise. You also had the independent. There were a few other forms. So there were a few ways that people could get their information. I'm not sure, I'm not gonna, who gets the enterprise anymore, or whether there's anything, really in it. But that's what you used to do, is you'd see all those little block ads that like the planning board of Bridgewater is calling a meeting, and that's where some people knew to get it. But there isn't really a good way of the town of Bridgewater in a clear way sharing what is going on. And maybe, maybe they don't want to air their dirty laundry, but like, if it wasn't for a couple individuals in a Facebook group, I'm not sure if a water situation would have as much visibility as it does now based on a Facebook group. Think what you will of what they're saying, but more people are aware of it. The town doesn't have a good way of figuring out how to communicate with people. And the second part is the town hasn't really determined a way to respond to questions. And I know that like other places, they have like on their portal, it'll be like a place to say, click it. Anyone has a question, it gets logged, and that town has an ombudsman or something that is their job to review questions. You may be a highway department complaint. You may be trying to find out, how do I find a form? How do you do something? But there is actually a process that many other communities, have. And I don't know whether or not, in the recommendation of the charter, that the charter then comes up with the idea that the town must have an ombudsman type of position, within its organization, and that be the person. So if someone just doesn't even know where to go, they have a way of logging the request, and it could be anything, like I said, from a highway, question, or like, I don't even know how to like file paperwork, like I can't find it. So like, just some sort of way, and you're gonna get a feedback within some time, not within the charter to determine that feedback, but saying the town must have an office of ombudsman or something to assist its residents in, finding things out and getting, answers. And some of the other things, the town council doesn't want to respond, and that's their own decision. They're running the meeting, that they don't respond to things. Many bodies don't respond when comments are, but that's something for them to decide within their own code how to do it. I don't think the charter can tell them to
Yeah,
respond
I
to
think
questions.
there's two different aspects
Right.
there, and I can speak to the whole citizens comment and no
Yeah,
interaction.
I was saying to try to separate that out, but
Yeah.
like for many people that have a question and they don't even know where to go or who to ask about something, to
Yeah.
know that there's an office of ombudsman within the town, and it's their responsibility to at least direct the person and at least provide some kind of answer, so you get feedback. It's like the old adage, you can't argue with City Hall. Well, you don't even know who to call, that like, you don't know where to ask,
Yeah.
or.
And I think each individual council member handles that differently, and back in my day, was the district council member's job, and we had 7 district council members. So you had a manageable group of people who were contacting you, and they would say, I'm having a problem with this. And I would contact the town manager and say, where do I direct this resident to go? Give me the information. And Troy Clarkson or Mike Dutton would say, here's the information you need. And then I would be that ombudsman.
Okay.
And it's sort of a dual role. Now, again, that's an elected position. The person can choose to do that. They can choose not to do that. The remedy is at the ballot box for that. Whether or not that's something we can put in the charter as a requirement, possibly. That could be a requirement of the position. And you force them to do it. Still no, the remedy is the political remedy.
Well, that's why I was saying,
Yeah.
have created a separate office, instead of town clerk, you have town ombudsman. And it's, if Lorraine has a question about something, because she can't figure out like how to navigate something, you contact, like I said, many communities have it, where there's an online portal and you can log any, ticket, any question. And it's a ticketed system where, they keep track of questions that people have and guarantee that someone will get back to them within a reasonable period of time to at least start the process and answer their question. So it's not necessarily trying to impose a responsibility on the district counselors, which gets murky because you have at-large counselors and district counselors. It's like, just say that, within our town charter, the town needs to have a ombudsman department that somebody, it may be that the town manager takes that responsibility. It could be anything, but that the town must have a way of answering constituent questions so they're not just lost because, otherwise there may not be any way. And again, getting back to the first thing, like, how do you communicate in general that, I think the charter needs to figure out a good way or a direction because you can't rely on the enterprise anymore. It's unfair to rely on Facebook. So
Yeah.
how should the town communicate concerns in a way?
Things that, one, print media is dead. We know it's dead. The up and coming media is your independent journalists and, your bloggers, if you will. The term blogger, I find, is what legacy media is using to discredit the people that are doing the job that they should be doing.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on the point of the town council not responding, because I was on the town council for that one came. The reason we put that rule into place was because we have open meeting law. You have to publish the agenda, you have to publish what the chair reasonably anticipates will be discussed at a meeting, so that the people know what's going to be discussed.
Yeah.
And can give their input before the meeting. What we were observing was a trend of people coming in to the podium or citizens forum, pre-canned with a certain group of members of councilors complaining about an issue, whatever it is. I think we should have a snow cone machine at the senior center with free snow cones for everybody on Wednesdays. Not on the agenda, nowhere on there.
Yeah, it's still that.
And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I make a motion, we fund the snow cone machine at the senior center, and it completely bypassed the open meeting law. So that's why we had that, okay, it's gonna be the responsibility of your district counselor to take your question and respond to you after the meeting. And whether they do or not, again, that's a political question for the ballot box. That's, in my view, not really a charter issue, but I imagine we're gonna see a snow cone machine coming pretty soon.
Yeah. Lorraine Carosa. So I guess two things, what Joe had mentioned as far as communication and all of that, which is a big issue. Where will all the information be found? Will it just be on the website?
Which,
As far as this meeting and your forums, and will you have your minutes and your notes and when your next meetings are and your agendas so that we can follow it?
we have all of that on the town website,
Okay.
with the agendas and the meeting minutes.
I mean, it would need to be followed. It's such an important document. And secondly, the 1 year time frame, was that something who came up with that? The town
The charter.
council? Oh, the charter.
charter
said-
actually
Oh, I
said
think I
that.
missed that.
Yeah.
Could that be sooner then? If you, developed everything or finished
Yeah,
everything
we
you wanted
have,
to do or?
we have to report within a year. We can get. a reasonable-
Okay.
So
Yeah.
anything earlier is good. Anything
Okay.
beyond, we have to go and get the council's permission to extend that timeline.
Because then how long will it take, once it goes to the town council, for them to make their,
Right now, that's an open-ended question.
That's what I
and that
mean.
goes to
That
your
could
point.
be, that's an issue.
Yeah.
that I've seen, many years.
Yeah,
Things just kind of,
yeah, and
Okay.
perhaps that's a way to remedy that is to set a
Yes.
timeline
yeah,
where the town council must act.
that's really important.
Can I just add, since I'm on your site, it doesn't talk about your upcoming meeting schedule or
Doesn't
really talk about much of anything. It just says that it's formed, who the 7 members are and the email
It's not
contact
in
of the award.
Our meetings aren't in the agendas.
Well, I don't, maybe in the
I couldn't
agendas, but
find
they're
it.
not under they're not under your,
Oh, under
Charter
the
re-
charter review subcommittee. So I know we put it on under town notifications. We also have it on the app and we posted it on all the Facebooks.
Agenda.
Yeah.
And then if you go to town agendas, you'll find everything. Yeah.
Exactly, right out front.
Yeah.
You know?
I would make the suggestion that like,
Yes.
if you want meetings scheduled, at the bottom here, you should list out what some of your meetings
Yeah.
are that or something. 'Cause again, it becomes
That-
confusing for people who are
Yes.
not like
Yeah.
versed in, navigate around. I mean, I found all 7 of your names and the contacts, emailed somebody,
Yeah,
but like,
Yeah.
I don't see anything about like, what you're thinking your carve out is and what your goal is. I would think that would be very
Exactly.
important to have.
That's helpful, because I know
Yeah.
myself navigating the town's website.
it's tough.
Yeah, just 2 days ago, I went to send the town council an email in a group. And there's an email, towncouncil@bridgewaterma.org. So I fired off the email, went to work, come home at the end of the day where it's way too late for them to respond. And I find a response saying, your email could not be delivered because that email address can only have emails sent from people within the town.
It also goes to the town council clerk. It's better to email us individually,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I know that now.
I wanted to pick up on what Joe said about the ombudsman. That's how I got involved in government in my other town. I was 14 years old and I was watching a city council meeting. There was something I didn't like. So I met Tom Kennedy, who was the ombudsman for the city of Brockton, later state rep and state senator. And then I ended up interning in that office in high school to learn more about government. So it's a good idea. It does require funding. They had grant funding for that position. It wasn't a funded position. Some towns have seat, click, fix, where you can submit stuff
Oh,
to the
that's what I'm
town.
thinking of, secret.
And that isn't currently there when they transitioned over to the new company that did the website. We're working to get that back. And the other thing is, one of our newer counselors suggested that we have some more information about like the counselors online. There used to be a picture of the town council as a group. We were talking about maybe having an individual picture with a little bit of biographical information, then right there it would click right to your email. That's something that we're looking to do. And we've talked a lot about communication with the current town manager, the interim town manager, the previous town manager. Communication could be better. I worked in cable TV for 25 years in Brockton. We have BTV, but not everyone has cable. The good thing about BTV is they put it online and YouTube. And then you have like, I'll commend my fellow counselor for doing a podcast to get information out there. Mike Dutton used to do a Facebook Live that I thought was a good thing, 10 minutes once a week to just let people know information. I'm not leadership of the council, but if I were, I would probably do a weekly, kind of summary about what's going before the council. So, and the newspaper thing's the biggest thing. I used to be a print journalist and I covered boards of select boards. Pretty interesting, pretty colorful stuff. Then cable came into play. Like there's little weeklies, like the Nemasket one down in Middleborough, which reports on stuff. There's a wonderful woman in Middleborough who used to be a journalist who writes up all the Middleborough stuff. She doesn't work for any publication. She just covers everything. I don't know how she possibly does it.
Independent journalist.
Yeah, and it's great. So good stuff, Joe. I think it's a good path to go down.
That's what we're
I have a question. As a town council at large, I'm over it. I mean, I can barely get emails out. What, I would like the charter to look at making us all districts. Splitting it up. So because I probably know more about the town because I get questions that they don't know that they have a district. And it's difficult to get back, especially like, people talking about the library, the water. I can get 50 to 100. There is no way I can get back to everyone. So if we could I would really like to see us all districts, so I can at least still serve the town, but at least have where I can control, I can actually get email. Who do I pick to, right now, who do I pick to get back to? You know what I mean? So I can go to the town council and say, I got too many emails, but this is my opinion. I've heard you. But I'd love the charter to look into that and to see if we would be better off serving the residents if we all had a district.
I appreciate that. That's, the perspective from inside the council on the charter is very interesting.
Weren't they that big?
It was seven district and two at large.
Yeah, so.
And when the town clerk did the redo, they were building for the future with the number of residents we had to even not have to change it if we get to 35 or 40,000 residents. I think it's more effective. I agree with Mary that if we could be, districts, people do not know, they know their precincts, but they'll come up to me and they'll say, well, which district are I am? And I have a little card that I keep in my wallet that I will tell people, well, where do you live? And then you go to Secretary of State's website and you can put in their name and address and it'll tell you.
Well, it's because we voted our precinct for how many decades?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than 4 or 5. Yeah, so I know my precinct. Unfortunately, my precinct and my district are the same, so I only have to remember one number. Real simple for me. I don't have to take out any shoes to count. Yeah, so.
Hold on, put it to MJ. Sorry.
I guess I'll be the contrarian on this. I actually prefer, me personally being at large, because I hear from everybody in town. I know Mary and other colleagues do have frustration with the volume of messages they get. I totally get it. I've found that it can be a bit challenging at times, but for me personally, I see it as actually being very helpful. Where if I'm only isolated to, like in Councilor Trocchio's case, he's just District 1, but he'll get the same type of questions that I'm getting because I'm effectively representing the entire town. I feel like it limits his ability to be able to answer something from somebody maybe on Urbex Circle, whereas I can answer somebody on Urbex Circle. I can answer somebody on Bayberry Circle. I can answer somebody on Dickens Street. He can only answer the people that are in that one little tiny part of town. If it's a town-wide issue, he should be able to hear from everybody in town. I get that there is an onerousness to how much, I won't say constituent correspondence because I hate the term constituents, from our neighbors and friends about things. But I feel like if you're only getting a tiny bit of it, you're not getting the whole picture. You're seeing it through one lens, but you're not seeing it with the entire pair of glasses. So I'm just politely pushing back on that.
No, this is because getting the different perspectives is why we're here. We don't expect everybody to come in and think exactly the same thing. We want to know what are the issues that you're seeing, not seeing, what do you like, what do you not like, and that's what we're getting from all of you. I see I'm 5 minutes over the time that I promised I would be here too.
Scott, could I just respond though? I mean, just being a district attorney, I mean, a large, I can go to everyone. A district is not just has to stay within the district. You're a town council for everyone. It just gives you a vocal point where to send your emails if you have a certain thing, and only people can vote for you, but you serve the whole town. And I think that's a confusion there.
Most of the issues are townwide issues. So,
Yeah.
when people call me, I don't look up what district you're in.
No.
And I remind people, you actually have 7 counselors. You have a district counselor and 6 at large. So if you're calling me on an issue, I know my at-large counselors can also talk to you about it. So you have more advocates than just one.
Just to sum up what a couple of the counselors said, and this is up to you guys to fix it, but on your council, when I look here, I can see which ones are liaison to what. So this gets back to what Mark said. If you want to expand like Mark's bio, say that Mark is, where are you? You are the Strategic Planning Committee Chair.
Yeah.
So that should say it there. So if you've got something about strategic planning, which I don't know what that means, but well, that's fine. Adeline Ellenberg is public safety. So if that said it there, it would be a point of contact for someone that has a fire police question. Paul Murphy is the school committee. So if you've got questions about school, so let the people play up to their strengths. But again, that's probably outside the charter review, but since a couple counselors said that how this is, I'd rather just know that, Mark is in charge, like I said, of strategic planning. So when, I don't know, is that Stratego or something? I mean, I don't know. That's not sure. But anyway, I think that, some can be done within the council to help. And that sort of speaks to the ombudsman that I was mentioning earlier, that like, I was just like browsing around and then I saw like, oh, there's a listing here to know who's in charge or who's the designee to what functions. I didn't even know that exists, but I was just clicking, some of the other subcommittees.
One
I
thing
think
we're
we've got
working on is to try to get those committees, believe it or not, there's nothing anyplace other than budget and finance that tells those committees what their charge is and what their role is. And that's something we're putting into place in the council. We have a very talented rules and procedures committee chair, and it's a good committee. I served on it too. I think we're looking to make all those things, and it could have something to do with the charter. Adeline, Heather.
Communication issue. It's very frustrating to counselors and to the public. I feel like the public speaks and then there's a wall. Exactly. And then they're done. Then the council speaks and no one can respond either. And there's another wall. That is not appropriate. That makes immense frustration on both sides of the coin. What I think we need to emphasize is the open meeting law is interpreted in such a way that the walls are there. Okay, question, if something's on the agenda, then there should be able to be dialogue because it's already been pre-advertised on the agenda. So there should be able to be dialogue back and forth between counselors and citizens.
For the purpose of this, that's a
It's not-
council rule.
Right,
That's
and it's,
outside of the four corners of the charter.
okay.
So if that's something you want to change as a town council,
Mm-hmm.
that's something for you to bring up and have that discussion. So,
Oh, by the way, Adeline Ellenberg. Forgot to tell you my name at the end. Sorry.
One last thing and quickly, but just like, you know, you said 5 minutes over the hour, when you check in on the little computer, it says 10:30 to 2.
oh, I don't control that.
So we.
That has nothing to do with me.
This is a safe space. You guys can stay till 2. It doesn't mean you have to talk till 2.
Remember, you got the snow cone machine around.
That's right, that's right. It's,
Yeah,
Lounge for snow cones after.
yep,
but I
It's-
think this was a great discussion.
Mhm.
Thank you all.
just, I would like to comment, I'm sorry. I think the idea, first off, I think it was nice that Attorney Rollins excused himself, yes.
Yeah.
Thinking of, somebody commented, we have the attorney, they got this fault. I don't know if this is in the charter, but if it could say, and shame to say, I haven't read the charter in ages that I need to. But if you put 2 attorneys, one, just something to think of for people that said there shouldn't be 1 attorney for both. To keep 2 attorneys on, retainer, thank you. I'm trying to hurry and I'm missing the words. On retainer, I can just hear the outcry of the citizens, another expense for keeping this person on retainer. So I think what's in policy now, if you need an outside attorney, you contract with them.
Yeah.
But you have the 2 attorneys,
And then there is a provision within the charter, the town council can hire staff.
Yeah.
Whatever professional staff they deem
Right.
they need,
Right.
which is, what is it? I think it's section 2-8.
You're right.
Yeah.
It-
It's scary.
We right now have a town employee who's an attorney.
Yeah.
If you hire a municipal law firm that has multiple practices, you're not hiring more than 1 attorney. You're getting a firm with expertise, okay? One could be, labor law, could be employment law, could be real estate law. Right now, it's all in one bag, and he represents the town manager, and the town council, and there's conflict.
And the town clerk and every town entity under that charter.
Yeah.
So when there is a dispute, we went through the same thing with the first town manager between the town council. And we had to hire an independent attorney for the town council.
Yeah.
And the town manager had to hire their own attorney. Now Judge Gilday who was the town attorney, had to step back and say, I can't do this. It's just the way the rules are for attorneys, and I completely get it. But to wrap this up, this was great. Just a great mix of people. Thank you all for coming out, having the council members here, giving their perspective, all of you giving your perspectives, your frustrations, what you like, what you don't like. This is what we need. Like I said at the beginning, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what you're experiencing. I know what I'm experiencing. And I know my opinions. But this is a charter that we are trying to improve, not for me, not for Lindsay, not for Ed, not for Jean, with Eric just said, I'm done. It's my day. We're gonna call him out. Yeah, I know.
No machine, he went.
Yeah, he's like snow cone. But, we're trying to make this charter last so that it works, whether it's a different form of government or different requirements within, whatever those changes are. That's our goal. Are we gonna get it right? We're gonna miss some stuff. And then the next charter review committee is gonna do stuff. And we're gonna keep, constantly improving. I always say, change is a prerequisite for improvement. If you're not willing to change, you'll never improve. And that's why I love this part of the charter, because it forces us to make those changes. So thank you all for that.
Want to get a hold of you, we have to go through Deb Ward, and how do we know who that email from was sent?